Imagine yourself in the soft hush of the Persian desert at dusk. The sand cools under your feet as the day's heat slowly seeps into the dry air. The year is somewhere around 500 BCE, and while empires rise and fall in these lands, the local families in Persia have one pressing daily concern: how to keep water and food cool in the merciless desert. You might find it boring, but for them, it was a daily survival task that required quiet ingenuity. As you close your eyes, you can almost hear the distant rustle of straw sandals across dusty ground, the muted clink of clay pots, and the whisper of the desert wind against mud brick walls. In the heart of Persia, near the city of Yazd, people learned to build yakhchals, massive, dome-shaped ice houses, rising like sleepy guardians from the sand. These ancient refrigerators could keep ice frozen even during the harsh summers without electricity or modern technology. Their construction was nothing dramatic, yet essential. Thick mud brick walls mixed with sand, clay, goat hair, and ash, designed to insulate against the scorching heat. At night, water was diverted into shallow pools to freeze under the clear desert skies. Workers, with patient, repetitive movements, would carry slabs of ice back to the yakhchal at dawn, stacking them carefully within the structure. The walls were sloped, thick, and often coated with sarouge, a waterproof mixture of clay, egg whites, and lime to prevent melting. Imagine the calm repetition of these early morning rituals, the scraping sound of ice being lifted, the low voices of men in wool robes, the soft clatter of clay jars as they store precious ice, and the warm glow of lantern light against the earthen walls of the yakhchal. Outside, the village would be waking up slowly. Goats bleat softly, women knead bread near the hearth, and children trail behind, tracing lines in the sand with sticks, learning the rhythm of a life that revolved around storing cold in the middle of relentless heat. The yakhchals were also used for storing food, preserving milk, and sometimes even for holding bodies for temporary storage in the heat. These structures became quiet landmarks of survival, blending into the landscape like a second sunken moon, visible in the calm dawns and silent nights of the desert. They stood as quiet testimonies to human persistence, to the idea that even in a place where the land seemed to burn under the midday sun, you could find coolness if you listened to the rhythms of nature and use them to your advantage. In many ways, these ice houses reflected a philosophy of patience and preparation, rather than conquest or glory. They remind us of a quieter kind of resilience, one that does not demand your attention, but rewards your patience with a slow, deep kind of understanding. As you rest, consider how many generations lived and died around these yakhchals, fetching ice for a sick child, storing milk for the family, or simply sitting in the cool shadows during the hottest part of the day, listening to the soft crackling of ice in the dark. And as you drift off, you might wonder, how did these ancient builders first realize they could capture the cold? And what stories have been lost, frozen within those silent domes of mud and ice under the watchful stars of the Persian desert? When you walk through the Persian desert, it is easy to think of it as empty. But if you listen closely, you might hear the low hum of the wind passing through the reeds near small irrigation canals, the rustling of goats shifting their weight, and the soft footfalls of farmers moving water jars. The desert was never truly empty. It was alive with slow. In the morning, the ice harvest would begin. It was not a hurried or loud task. The workers used wooden tools to slide the ice into manageable pieces, lifting them carefully, placing them on straw mats to be carried into the yakhchal. The muffled sounds of these morning labors were often the first sounds in a village, waking up to another hot day. Children would sometimes peek from doorways, watching the men carry the ice. To them, these pieces of frozen water seemed like small treasures from another world. They knew it would mean cool water to drink during the heat, or perhaps a bit of cooled milk to ease the sting of the sun. The yakhchal itself was designed with care. The entrance was narrow, and inside, the floor was dug deep into the earth, creating a space cooler than the outside air. Layers of ice were stacked carefully, with straw placed in between to slow the melting process, creating a small oasis of cold in a world of heat. It was in this quiet darkness that families would store milk in clay jars, keep leftover food safe, and retrieve small amounts of ice to treat fevers or keep their drinking water cool. The cool air would smell of damp straw and clay, a reminder of the earth's slow, patient gift. Sometimes, during the hottest months, people would simply sit near the entrance of the yakhchal, allowing the cool air to drift over them as they rested in the shade. It was not luxurious, but it was enough, a small comfort against the endless summer heat. There was also a quiet social world around the yakhchal. Neighbors might meet in the early mornings, sharing soft words while helping with the ice. Women would sometimes exchange bread for a small piece of ice, a trade made in calm voices with grateful nods. During festivals or celebrations, ice might be used to cool drinks, a small luxury that reminded people of the mountains far away, where the snow never left. It was a taste of another world, a quiet celebration of life, even in the harshness of the desert. The builders of these yakhchals often passed down their craft through families, teaching their sons and daughters how to mix the right clay, how to find the best location, and how to read the rhythms of the desert. It was not a trade that brought fame, but it was one that ensured survival. The structures themselves could last for centuries if maintained, standing quietly as the world changed around them. Empires rose and fell, roads were built and abandoned, but the yakhchals remained, steady and unremarkable, fulfilling their quiet promise. As you drift into sleep, you might imagine the quiet life of these desert people, building and using their ice houses, not seeking glory, but simply living. You might hear the soft crackle of ice, the warm hush of sand, and the gentle breath of the desert wind. Long before sunrise, you might find the yakhchal's keepers rising quietly, tying soft cloth around their heads to keep the morning chill away. They would check the clay walls for cracks and clear away drifting sand. Even in maintaining these ice houses, there was no hurry, only the slow patience that matched the rhythm of the desert. At times, a small crack in the dome might need repair. Using clay mixed with straw and ash, the keeper would patch it slowly, pressing the mixture with careful hands, smoothing it with quiet concentration. The desert was vast, but in this moment, all that mattered was this simple act of preservation. Inside, the air remained cool, a gift the yakhchal gave in return for care. It was a sharp, clean coolness that carried the scent of damp clay, straw, and faintly of the earth itself. A small lantern would glow in the corner, casting long shadows on the curved walls. Families might visit the yakhchal in the morning, bringing clay jugs to collect a piece of ice for their homes. It was often a quiet ritual, with soft greetings and slow movements, as if the walls themselves encouraged stillness in those who entered. During the peak heat of the afternoon, the yakhchal's interior became a haven. Children, carrying small cups, would wait as a parent carefully chipped away a piece of ice, dropping it into their drink with a soft clink that was barely louder than the desert wind outside. As the sun dipped low, The shadow of the yakhchal would stretch across the sand, and the keepers would prepare the pools once more, ready to capture the cool of the night. It was a quiet task, often done alone, as the wind swept gently across the desert. Over the years, the yakhchal became part of the life cycle of the village, marking the seasons and the days with its simple presence. It was not celebrated with grand festivals or songs, but it was deeply appreciated, a steady reminder that even the harshest environments could be softened by human effort and patience. At night, when the stars returned, the yakhchal's dome would glow faintly under the moonlight, a pale shape against the darkness. The desert would grow quiet, and the people would sleep, knowing that the morning would bring heat, but that there would be ice waiting to ease it. Sometimes, travelers from other regions would marvel at these ice houses in the desert. To them, it seemed impossible that ice could exist in such heat. But for the villagers, it was simply part of life, a testament to the quiet genius of their ancestors. When you think of these ice houses, it is easy to imagine them as simple structures. But within their walls lay generations of knowledge, the careful observation of the land, the slow learning of wind and shadow, and the understanding of how to survive with dignity in a world that could be harsh and unyielding. In these ancient Persian ice houses, there was a quiet promise that even in a place where the sun burned relentlessly, there would be relief, and that through patience and skill, people could shape their environment to hold small comforts. And so, as you drift into sleep, you might imagine the slow, rhythmic life around these Persian ice houses, where the hum of the wind, the quiet scraping of clay, and the soft sound of ice in a clay cup were reminders of the beauty in small, patient efforts. 2,500 years ago, in the heart of Persia, people found a way to make ice in the desert without electricity, without modern machinery, and even without a full understanding of the physics we know today.